It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 12, printed in House Report 111-467. For what purpose does the gentleman from Mississippi seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate that amendment.
Amendment number 12, printed in House Report number 111-467, offered by Mr. Childers of Mississippi.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1300, the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Childers, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Mississippi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to add my thanks to Mr. Andrews and the House Armed Services Committee, especially my dear friend and Chairman Ike Skelton, for putting forth this important legislation. Changing the way the Department of Defense conducts its acquisition activities is essential to restoring fiscal discipline in our government. I commend the committee's efforts to ensure that acquisition personnel at the Department of Defense are well trained to make the best decisions for both our national security and our economy. My amendment makes a small addition to this training by including market research strategies. This minor addition is of great importance to many districts like mine. Today, upwards of 4,000 North Mississippians are employed by defense contractors, and that number continues to grow. These employees work hard every day to create many of the products and services that keep our troops safe in theater and protect our homeland from outside threats. These include many contractors on Columbus Air Force Base, as well as contractors that produce everything from military uniforms to MRAPs and unmanned aerial systems. The defense companies are vital to the economy of Mississippi. It is important that when the Department of Defense makes decisions about who receives a military contract and what term that contract contains, it considers how surrounding communities are affected and how these communities can contribute to that contract. The addition of market research strategies to acquisition training would ensure that the acquisition personnel at the Department of Defense are trained to take into account the local economy surrounding a potential defense contractor and how the unique makeup of the local community could provide added value to the department. It will assist the department in taking into account the unique workforces like communities like the Golden Triangle region in my district Encompass and their ability to save the government money. During this difficult economy, it is important that Congress remains focused on job creation and preservation, as well as restoring a balanced budget. My amendment ensures that the DoD can consider the impact of defense acquisition on local jobs and that the government has additional tools to find new ways to cut costs and promote fiscal responsibility. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New Jersey.
I rise to claim time in opposition to the amendment, although I do not oppose the amendment.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Thank the chairman. I thank my friend from Mississippi for offering this very well thought out amendment. One of the key ideas of this bill is that we have a high quality, well-trained acquisition workforce. And Mr. Childers' amendment makes sure that that workforce is well-trained in a key area, which is understanding that a contract does not simply affect the firm that wins the contract and the employees that work for that firm. It affects the entire region for which a contract is awarded. Now, again, nothing in Mr. Childers' amendment would divert the procurement organizations away from best value for the taxpayer dollar. But what he does suggest is that when one defines the concept of value, it's broader than just the four corners of the contract being considered. The area he represents so ably is one where the economy really pivots on the presence or absence of military contracts. And in his efforts to try to make sure that his region prospers, I know that he wants to be sure, as each of us does, that there is fair consideration of the regional and community economic impact of a contracting decision. I think the amendment that he's offered, which goes to the training of the decision makers, is entirely appropriate in that regard. We appreciate his contribution to the bill, would encourage the members to vote yes, and I would reserve the balance of the time in opposition.
The gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Mississippi.
Mr. Chairman, I think no one else has asked to speak. With that, I want to thank my colleague and gentleman for his concurrence in my amendment. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment and the underlying bill as well. And with that, I yield back my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey.
I urge a yes vote and yield back the time in opposition.
Gentleman yields back. The question then is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Mississippi. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.